Hello again YouTube, and welcome back to Just Get a Tesla. And on this week's video I am once again driving a Polestar 2, and at popular request I am using public charging, where it's currently fleecing me at 78p a kilowatt hour. Surely this isn't better than Tesla. So I've done a couple of these videos now comparing Tesla to other marques and talking about the charging experience that I have with Tesla, and then looking at the other cars and the other charging networks and basically thinking that Tesla is better. I have had a few comments though, and some of those are a little bit combative, I think, from people who in essence bought the wrong car and are feeling quite sad about it. So on this trip I've got 2 days of Polestar 2 action. I'm starting the video here in Bournemouth, but I've already driven down from Gatwick Airport. Tomorrow I've got a meeting down here, then I'm going to Wembley in West London, and then on Wednesday I am going out into Cambridgeshire and then back to the airport again. So a variety of different uses with this front wheel drive Polestar 2. But what I'm going to try and do is the masochist approach, which is use the public charging network, which various people have told me is really good now. Well, so far, I was at least able to get up to this charger and plug into it without any issues. I do have the MER app already because there's a hotel charger that I use occasionally, so I already have my card details and things in there, so it was quick to start, but it's only charging at 48 kilowatts. Now, I had comments recently from somebody who said, Ian, you're telling lies again about Tesla because you're saying Tesla is quicker because of the speed of its chargers at top speed. But Ian, the charging curve on other cars is faster. I don't care if it's faster when I'm sat at 48 kilowatts. This thing's flat out. Whoop-de-doo. It's 48 kilowatts and we've only got 49% in the battery. This is pants, and considering how much it's costing per kilowatt hour, it's expensive pants, it's fancy pants, it's frilly pants with bits of lace pants. I would much rather be plugged into a supercharger. So just a couple of things before I unhook from the extremely expensive and rather slow charger. So this is a 72 plate Polestar single motor, which means it's got the front wheel drive setup on this car. I have rented this from DollarHertz at Gatwick for an unbelievable price, which I will tell you about later, which is frankly easily the best car you can get for the unreasonable price, which I will tell you about later. Did I say unreasonable? Yeah, it probably is unreasonable. Amazing, unfeasible, unreasonable price for this car for 2 days. So on this trip, and I'm going to places that I hadn't intended to be going in this car. So this is opportunistic. So I'm staying at a hotel tonight here in Bournemouth that doesn't have charging. I'm staying at a hotel tomorrow night in Wembley, which doesn't have charging. There is charging nearby at Wembley, and it's some insane price for 7 kilowatts. So no. What it does mean is I am going to have to spend quite a bit of time on this trip plugged into a charger waiting for the thing to charge up. Now, for most people that's probably a pain in the bum, but for me, well, I make YouTube videos about EVs, so that's okay. Let's talk about it. And for a lot of people, this is your life. It's not my life because I just got a Tesla. This is your life, and some of you insist that it's better. It's day 2 of my Polestar fun. So again, I've got this for 48 hours. So start Monday, end Wednesday. Today's Tuesday, and what have I done so far? I have cut through traffic in Bournemouth and nearly got collected by somebody in the chaos of the traffic, and now I am driving back towards London, but from where I am I can go a countryside route to do a little bit of testing as to how this car feels versus Tesla, because that was something requested in the previous video that I did. Your wish is my command. What do I know so far? I really dislike the interior of this Polestar 2. It is quite a big car, and yet it is so confined in here in terms of the amount of not just interior space, but the oppressive feel of it. It's got a high shoulder line in terms of the glass, so there's less window here, and the windscreen feels more like a letterbox. But also the fact that you've got this high console off to your left, you've got a high floor underneath, right? A high floor underneath where the battery pack is. So there's not even a lot of room where your feet are by the pedals, which again is a problem. I think there's also a couple of things about the way that this car is designed which are a little bit on the not so great side. The indicators noise is the most annoying thing I think that I've heard in a car since I think my Vauxhall Vectra had a really annoying indicators noise back in 2002. This is as annoying as I remember that being, which isn't something that's a positive. It's got a big screen, and my Volvo S90 before it also had a big screen, but a portrait oriented screen, which they'd obviously copied off Tesla, who obviously were first. But using this screen, it's really laggy. When it's starting up especially, it's really slow. And also with these massive great big black bezels around it, it kind of reminds me of a tablet that I used to own maybe a decade ago. I think it was a Google Nexus 7 or something. It was one of those breakthrough iPad alternatives when it came out. And it kind of reminds me of that, in that, okay, it's a screen and it's got information on it, but it's not particularly satisfying, and it's just not anything like as good as Tesla, despite the fact that some of the graphics on it, as I said in last week's video, I think are better laid out and better thought through than Tesla. Similarly, I like having this display in front of me behind the steering wheel, where, as well as things like speed and state of charge and an energy use bar, you can also have mapping displayed behind it. That is great. The problem is that it's not really configurable the way that you would really want the thing to be, which makes it not anything like as satisfying to use in practice as I thought that it might have been. So again, it could be better than it is. And that, I think, is a theme for me with this Polestar 2. It could be better than it actually is. Maybe the idea is better than the reality, but we've got plenty of miles to do still on this trip. So, two things to talk about which came up in the last video I did on Polestar, and then on some ones since then. So I was asked, what's the ride quality like of this versus Tesla? Well, it's softer than Tesla, I will give it that, but it's not forgiving in the way that you might be hoping for. So Tesla does have quite a firm ride. I know for some people it's too firm, but I actually quite like that, especially with the amount of power that it's got. This has definitely got a more forgiving suspension setup, but that just means that it roly-polies a little bit more through the bends than you might be expecting it to. So honestly, I can understand why you might prefer this setup, but personally I think the Tesla one is better, because at least that gives you the confidence that this frankly doesn't give you. Okay, other things. How can I put it? Pilot assist. Okay, I have seen quite a few things recently talking about how Tesla Autopilot isn't actually that good compared to some of the other systems. Now, okay, I haven't driven all of the other systems, but I have had a car fitted with Pilot Assist previously, which was my Volvo S90, and this car also has Pilot Assist. And how can I put it? It's not good. Yeah, it's not good. It is really, really, really poor at doing anything other than driving along the motorway. Okay, the great thing about it is if you do a lane change, you can literally indicate maneuver across, and it automatically re-engages. Now, that is something that Tesla Autopilot really should allow you to do, but I know you have to get a third-party accessory like the sexy buttons to actually force the car to automatically re-engage versus standard autopilot. So that's a positive, but it's the only positive. This car is terrible bunching along in traffic on autopilot, in that you've actually got to keep telling it, yes, you can proceed, yes, you can proceed. So it's not automated at all. It will stop, but it then will not restart. And for anything that involves bends, it's faintly terrifying. It is not good at holding the center of the lane on anything other than the motorway. And I'm not just talking about the country road, the likes that I'm on now, where it just can't do it at all. Tesla Autopilot can do this, okay? It might need to slow you down a little bit through some of the bends. This just gives up. It can't actually manage it at all. And it was exactly the same last night when I was driving in towards Bournemouth along the A31, which again is a fast dual carriageway but has got a couple of bends. And there were several of those where I had to take over because it couldn't sweep me around the bend at a reasonable speed. Tesla would have had no problem at all. This was not good. So just a couple of things, right? The ride, I don't think is particularly better than Tesla. It's compromised in a different way to the way that Tesla's ride is compromised, and the automation system isn't great. On the M3 heading back towards London, I need to stop, so I shoved the car into show me where I can charge the Polestar up, and it suggested Winchester services, where apparently there are some ultra rapid chargers. Whatever ultra rapid is in the world of non-Tesla, well, there's one way to find out, isn't there? So these are grid serve chargers, which used to be the electric highway back in the ecotricity days. Ideally, I get a receipt. So I think what I'm going to have to do is set an account up so that I can access my charging history. You don't need to do that. I know you can literally just turn up and plug in, but for my needs, I basically need, I need a receipt really. So I can see Mr. Grid Serve up here. Let's have a look and see what we get, shall we? Right then, Grid Serve, high power, and it tells me receipts, and I've just had a very quick look, and yes, you basically scan your jobby there. So let's have a look at this, shall we? Big long cable, and it needs to be, ooh, this is really heavy. Oh, that's fun. Right, okay, contactless cards here. Shall we get on with this then? Yes. Scan, my beauty, scan. What's that saying? Starting. Okay, good. I just heard it click. 79p a kilowatt hour. Okay. I've heard it click a couple of times. Hang on. 999. Okay, let's have a look. Maybe this is where we need to get the app. Because what does it say? Get the Grid Serve app. All right, let's do that. Well, it's buzzing, but it's gone red. So I've actually moved from that one because I'm getting the same thing all the time. Every time I try and start a charge, we get the same thing. Error. What on earth is this all about? I don't actually need charge here, I suppose. I don't, but why won't it start? Right. I suddenly remembered something which I read a while ago and hadn't quite figured out. Something about these absolutely ginormous CCS2 plugs and cars being a bit of a pull, and there's plenty of cable. I mean, there's plenty of cable, but for whatever reason, it didn't like it. It is now charging on the fourth, and I do mean fourth attempt, using 2 different units, but we are now getting, rock and roll, 129 kilowatts. What a load of faff that was. So to be fair, it is going 79p a kilowatt hour. I mean, 79p a kilowatt hour. Allegedly, I get 5% off that because I have started the app and I've registered the payment card, which I'm using. But we will see. But 79p a kilowatt hour. I pay half that normally for a Tesla supercharger, and I've arrived on 40%, and the car is taking, actually I can look at it on the screen, can't I? I've arrived on what? No, not 40%, I think it was about 35% or something, and the car took 129 at the top end and he's now taking 117, as you can see. So I had somebody tell me that, Ian, the charging curve on everything else is superior to Tesla. Is it? This is way, way, way more expensive and slower than I would have been getting. So look, here's the reality, right? 79p a kilowatt hour I'm currently being fleeced at. Based on doing 3.62 miles per kilowatt hour on the recent part of the trip that I've been doing, that means that this is nearly 22 pence per mile to drive using public charging. 22p a mile. Now, I have done loads of Tesla road trips where I've used the supercharger network, and I have given you the full costs breakdown. At what point have I ever got anywhere near even 15p a mile using superchargers practically exclusively on the trip? This is costing an absolute arm and a leg in charging costs. Now, I know people will be shouting and saying, if you got a subscription to this, or if you pay money to that, or if you add this onto the other, then you might be able to get the cost down. Yes, you might be able to get the cost down somewhere towards what Tesla charge you at the 4 hours of the day when they are the most expensive. The rest of the time, you are going to get nowhere near Tesla charging costs on something like this. Nowhere near. And that is despite if you're paying £9.99 a month or some other subscription cost, because that's what you want to be doing. It's just bonkers. So this is charging up now, and it's saying I've got a range of 190 miles based on 70%. So I think I need to do 130, maybe 140 miles to be able to get to my destination tomorrow, and then to the Tesla supercharger at Newmarket. And that is a supercharger which is open to everybody. And I've had a look at it, and that supercharger open to everybody if you have no account at all. So if you are not paying Tesla any money, that is 51p a kilowatt hour. 51p versus 79p for this one. You are literally getting fleeced if you're charging at any of these other things. And don't tell me Ionity is cheaper. Well, again, if you pay a subscription, you get Ionity down towards what you pay for Tesla at its most expensive. It's absolutely crazy. I am sure I'm going to get some people complaining about this video, but I've done the things that you told me to do, where you've challenged the just get a Tesla thing. Just let the car tell you where to stop. All right, I let the car tell me where to stop for a charge, and it brought me here. Okay, I've done the try and just tap and go, and the car refused unless I hiked the connector up. I've never had anything like that with my Tesla. And then I'm using an app which allegedly is going to give me a 5% discount according to the thing on the terminal. Whether it actually does, I honestly don't know. And also the fact that it's saying the receipts are going to take something like 3 days to be generated. Well, that's helpful. So all in all, that was entertaining and makes for good content, but I'm not exactly sure that it's the happy and easy driving experience that we need it to be to make EVs a success. In a shameless piece of self-marketing, this week's video is brought to you by both of my retail businesses. First of all, by ts.la Stationery, which is the wonderful shop that I'm standing in here now. If you want really cool things like Harris Tweed notepads, come and check us out, stellastationery.co.uk, and use the word GET for a 10% discount. And also by Millibricks, which is my Lego-compatible toys business selling World War II cool sets like tanks and planes. And again, millibricks.co.uk, put the code GET in at the checkout and get 10% off. Back to this week's video. Day 3 in the Polestar. So Monday rented it, drove it yesterday, Tuesday, today's Wednesday. I am on my way out to Cambridgeshire, so I was down in Bournemouth on Monday. Then I went up to Wembley in northwest London on Tuesday, and now I'm on my way out to Cambridgeshire and then back down to Gatwick again later. I've actually been quite busy this morning and had to pull over repeatedly to deal with business stuff that was coming in. So it's not been the most consistently smooth drive, but in the 50 miles that I have done this morning, the car has done an exciting 342 watt hours per mile. 342. So that's less than 3 miles per kilowatt hour, which is really not that good. And okay, so initially it was a trudge out through North London to then be able to get out onto the fast roads, and at the moment I'm on a, I don't know why it's shouting at me, I mean, my hand is on the steering wheel and I'm on pilot assist. Pilot assist, not great, as I was saying. But yeah, basically driving along, we're on a slower road now, but from an efficiency perspective, that's pretty poor. And I think so far from what I've seen of this car, the efficiency really hasn't been anything like as much as I thought that it was gonna be. And maybe that's because it has been cooler weather, so you know, we're at 5 degrees and it's been a little bit damp on and off, but overall on the entirety of the trip, 280 watt hours per mile. So what's that, about 3.5 miles per kilowatt hour, somewhere around that, which again, I'm sure last time I had a Polestar it was doing better than that. But hey, it is quite easy as I come off the roundabout with the annoying popping noise for the indicators. It is quite easy to understand that this is a front wheel drive car, because I have actually had a little bit of wheel spin a couple of times when I've tried to increase the amount of throttle response to get out of something, and you just get a little bit of slippage, which is I've never had, apart from once when I was really trying to hammer the rear-wheel drive Tesla Model 3. Apart from once, I've never had that really with Tesla. But then again, that's not front-wheel drive. I have just plugged in at the Newmarket supercharger with these V4 stalls, and basically just use my existing app. On it goes, and off we go. Let's see what kind of rate of charge we're getting, because we were on 17% when we arrived, and we're getting a whopping 101. Okay, that's not spectacularly quick, but it's better than the 40 odd we were getting off the Mare charger the other night. 102 now. Okay, fine. So we're just going to leave this running for a little bit. We need enough charge to get us down towards Gatwick, and then it needs to be charged 80% on the one down there. So I'm going to sit here for a little bit and do a few things. So just out of interest, I'm sat here and I'm getting 98, but a Skoda Enyaq has just pulled up next to me and he is getting 165. So some people say that I'm being a little unfair when I talk about charging speeds and Tesla being generally superior. Well, certainly in this Polestar, and it was navigating to charge because it said, do you want to go and charge? Yes, I do. Having done that, it's still only getting, well, 100 kilowatts. So the guy next to me is getting significantly quicker speed. Certainly if I had turned up in my Tesla and I was on 17%, I'd be getting 180 at least, if not a bit more. So these are definitely slower. However, this is 51p a kilowatt hour, which is much better. I've come to the electric forecourt here at Gatwick because I've got to put a bit more power back into this before I go and hand the thing back. So we're back on grid serve. The app was a faff last time. Let's see if it's any better now. Okay, holding the holding the connector up seemed to be the trick that I learned last time, and it is going 101. Well, 101 it was, now 96, although it's on half a battery. 79p a kilowatt hour though. It's still abusively expensive. I could have gone down the road to the Tesla supercharger where it would have been 51p a kilowatt hour, but well, I'm here now, aren't I? But I mean, I think there's a facility. I do quite like this. You know, we've got a roof, which makes a difference. And then let's go and have a look around. One thing that I do keep forgetting, it's not walk away door locking. You actually have to push something to lock the thing up. Okay, let's wrap this up as I finish my charging session, and I am going to put up on screen how much all of the charging sessions actually cost, because I can't do that now because I haven't finished. But let's just say it cost more, and significantly more, than it would have done had I been driving my Tesla. And it certainly cost more and significantly more than had I used this car charging at Tesla superchargers all of the time, if that was an option. That would also have cost a fair bit less. But this is my second time now with a Polestar 2, and I've had it for a longer period on this trip than I had last time. What do I think of it? It's a decent car, right? I love the Volvo design language. I really do. I appreciate the screen behind the steering wheel. That's something that Tesla really needs to have. I appreciate some of the little design touches around it where, you know, they're trying to make it look interesting. It's certainly that. What I dislike is just how cramped it is. And it's not just here. It's cramped where your feet are. Because of the way that the battery bulge kind of comes up, it's really cramped by the pedal box. So you really do feel confined that you just do not get with Tesla. And that, for me, is the reason why I wouldn't get it. But again, guys, it's horses for courses, different people, different opinions. The public charging thing, I'll be honest, drives me mad. Compared to Tesla, which, as I say, is the iPhone of EVs, where everything is connected together, everything is seamless, everything just works. This really is Android. It's faff, it's apps, it's fiddly, and it's expensive and slow. But apart from that, it's absolutely fine, and the people who keep berating me and saying that I'm being unfair, sorry guys, you're still wrong. But here's the final kicker, right? I've had this car for 48 hours, and I rented it from DollarHertz, same business, and they've got quite a lot of these on their fleet. And because they've got more cars than there is demand for, I was able to rent this car for £21 a day, right? 21 quid to rent this for 24 hours. Times 2, obviously. That is stunning value for a car of this size in this class. For 21 quid a day, it really is a bargain. So if you need something like that, go and have a look for them. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed my little odyssey into the dark side and the unknown of public charging with a different network, and really using those public chargers the way that the way that some of you have been screaming to do. I'm not going to do it again soon, but I do hope to drive some other cars. So if you want to see when I do that, make sure you've clicked the subscribe, because that's how you get to see them. I'll really appreciate that. It really helps the channel. And I will see you back here very soon on Just Get a Tesla.